Hey, it's Jessi, and today I'm going to be starting the first video of my series on queer literature. I'm hoping to have a new video up on a different queer book each month. I will have, hopefully I'll remember, I will put down below the list of books that I will be reading for the rest of the year, so that if you want, you can follow along with me. Originally, this was going to be a podcast series, and then that sort of fell through because I was going to do it with Nicole, and Nicole has too many readings to do this semester for class, so for the time being, that is not the plan, and I figured I could take this and do it as a YouTube thing, especially because I already read the letter Q in August. This next month, I will be reading They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, and you will hopefully get that video on time. This is probably going up when it's already September, but that's fine. So I had originally read the letter Q when I was much younger. I think I read it when I was still in high school, like maybe a year or a year and a half, 2 years after I had come out. So I read it because, you know, there weren't many queer people in my life, and at the time I kind of liked it. I think I might have given it like 3 out of 5 stars, but the second time I read it, it only got 2 out of 5 stars, and that definitely has a lot to do with the fact that it was written in 2011, but also a lot to do with the fact that each of the letters is saying the exact same thing. Another problem that I had with the letter Q was that despite using the word queer, they only talk about, like, allegedly cis people of non-normative sexualities. So it's like gay people and lesbians and like 1 or 2 bisexuals, and they don't talk about gender at all, which is almost impossible to believe that that was what happened in this book, but it did. So this is supposed to be a series of letters written by queer authors to their younger selves. Most of these people wrote it to their teenage selves. Some of them wrote it to like 18, 19, which still is a teen, but to me that doesn't count as a teen because you're living outside your parents' house. And so just the fact that these adults never wrote about their gender has to either be censoring, which, you know, is what I would like to believe, even though that's also shitty, or it's all cis people who don't think about their gender, which is just something I just can't believe. There's definitely not that many cis people in the world that they just could not find a queer, non-binary person or trans person to write a letter for this. Like, it just baffled me, and also was gross because this is supposed to be for younger people who are queer, and trans people are queer, and they should have been represented in a book that was published in 2011. This book also was mostly male authors that were asked to write letters to their younger selves, and for the most part, they weren't even well-known authors. The only well-known person in this book was, well, there were 2. It was Gregory Maguire, author of Wicked, and David Levithan, author of Two Boys Kissing, The Lover's Dictionary, and Every Day, which is just some of his titles that I can list off the top of my head. But for a book published in 2011, they should have also been able to include other books, other authors, such as Jodi Lynn Anderson or Alison Bechdel, who had been published since like the 90s, and like Gloria Anzaldúa. Obviously, it would have been nice for me personally to see, you know, a letter from Hannah Moskowitz in there, but at the time in 2011, she was like somewhere between 17 and 19 years old, so she had really no younger self to write to other than like a 4-year-old. Yeah, I wish that this book was rewritten now with, you know, more relevant people, because there's tons and tons more queer authors that if this book was written today in 2017, or even like a year ago in 2016, the authors would have been different. You obviously would have had Hannah Moskowitz, who was almost... I know it sounds like I'm obsessed with her. A little bit. I think she is an inspiration. She's personally my hero, which is why I'm talking about her a lot, and probably will be talking about her a lot, because she is a queer author who has written queer literature, and she is very important to me, and I think that she sets an example that a lot of people in the literary sphere, and especially people who are writing queer literature, should be paying attention to. That's why I'm referencing her. But she almost won the Stonewall Award, which instead went to the author of Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, which is a book that I will be reading this year. And the author of that book also could have written a letter to themselves. I would have kept Gregory Maguire and David Levithan because they're still relevant. I honestly might have even gone out of my way to find playwrights, or, musicians, lyricists, outside of just being writers. There are they're still writers. Outside of being, literary authors, there are still writers that are worthwhile to include in a book like this, such as Stephen Sondheim would have been great to include, but there's also, the book isn't good enough, and it's because it was written in 2011, which at this point is practically a decade ago, and because of that, it's missing relevant people. I'm not expecting most of the people watching this video to either have read this book or have heard of it, and that's because it was written in 2011, which is 10 years ago, and, queer authors of note are different now, because you also have, certain YouTubers who are queer who have written books, like Melanie Murphy, who is now an author of a nonfiction work, which she is a notable queer figure on YouTube, and therefore would have been a great addition to a book had it been written not in 2011. So I guess outside of that criticism that I have with that it was written sort of at the wrong time, because either the queer people that were included were too passé, or, that they had missed the mark on what is sort of, who has gained relevance after 2011. It also would have benefited from better editing. Each one of the letters is extremely repetitive. You have a lot of people talking about, you don't know you're gay, but you're gay, which is fine and is, common, but it's also, follow your dreams, and, just, you'll get out of your hometown in Alabama, and that's fine, but it was every letter. And so, as a reader, it's fucking annoying to read. There were really, very few, good lines from these different writers, because they were all writing the same sentences. And looking back, when I read the letter Q as a kid, not as a kid, but as a teenager, a younger teenager, I didn't really get that much out of reading this book, because you hear the same advice from everyone, which is, you'll move out, you'll find someone who likes you, and you don't have to be a promiscuous gay. Which is, we could have also gotten advice it's okay to not understand your gender, or it's okay that you feel like you don't fit in your body. There were a few remnants of that when people were you just gotta love your body, but that's more about, weight and fatness rather than your gender, which this book is lacking in. It's this horrible, issue of cis-washing within the queer community, which just makes it the LGBT community and really eradicates the whole point of us using the word queer. But in a work that's supposed to, help comfort young people, this book really didn't do that. Which is why, I reiterate again, I gave it a 2 out of 5. The 2 stars that it does get is because some of the writing's pretty decent. And also that it is short and you can get through it in 2 to 3 days if you're really not trying to tear through it in one sitting. So, but this book, in terms of queer literature worth reading, I'd say is a don't recommend. I don't recommend this book. I think there is better stuff out there for you, and hopefully I will be telling you about it in the coming months. Some of the books that I will be reading are books that I have already read, such as I will be reading a book that's already on my shelf, Invincible Summer in the summertime. That is my favorite book, and I will be reading it because it is written by a queer woman, Hannah Moskowitz. So I'm hoping that you guys enjoy this project. I'm very excited about it. I had wanted to do it as a podcast, but obviously that is not what is currently happening with this project. If you want to read along, please do. I would love for people to read along. Reading for this next month can't start until September 5th, just because Adam Silvera's book doesn't come out until September 5th. Hopefully Amazon will do me right and it'll arrive at my door on September 5th. Or if I'm lucky, it'll come a day early. I've had that happen, and it is great. So, this is the project. Please read along. Please comment. I love talking about books, which is another reason why I'm doing this. Not just because I'm queer. If this does change the format that it will be in, you will be let known. I will let you know. I'll also let you know when I learn how to fucking read. Or speak, because clearly I can't do any of those things right now. But thank you for watching. I do have another book video that will be posted soon. I actually recorded it before recording this one, but I wanted to get this video up sooner rather than later, just because I'm trying to do the series. The other book, I just happened to read it, but it had nothing to do with queerness. So, that will be posted too. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry for myself, and I will see you next time, and I will see you next month with another queer book.